All right, let's talk about something that happens to, well, pretty much any company that's growing. You know that moment when all those exciting projects start to feel less like a coordinated fleet and more like a giant tangled mess of fishing line? Well, today, we're going to figure out how to untangle that mess and turn it into a powerful current, pulling you directly towards your biggest goals.
So let me ask you something, and I bet this hits close to home. Does it ever feel like your teams are just sprinting on a treadmill? Like everyone's working so hard. You're burning through resources, but the finish line just isn't getting any closer? That feeling of being busy but not actually productive? Yeah, that's Project Chaos. And listen, this is not just some small headache. You've got to understand the cost of all this chaos is real. It's like this hidden current under the surface, just quietly pulling your resources and your whole strategy right down the drain. So, where does it all start? It usually starts right here with scattered projects. I mean, you've got brilliant people, right? Super smart teams, all working their tails off, but they're all in their own little bubbles. Marketing's doing one thing, engineering is shipping something else, and maybe they don't quite connect. And honestly, nobody's 100% sure how it all ties back to the big goals for the year. And you know what happens next, right? Wasted hours. And I'm not talking about a few minutes here and there. I'm talking about huge chunks of time. You get teams doing the same work twice, or having to scrap everything and start over because the goalposts weren't clear. It's kind of like trying to build a house with two totally different sets of blueprints. You're going to get a whole lot of activity, but the results? It's just a mess. But it actually gets worse than just wasted time. When you don't have that single, unified view of everything that's going on, you're basically flying blind. And that's when the really costly stuff happens. The surprises. Little risks that nobody saw suddenly blow up into full-blown crises. And every single one of those delays, every budget overrun, that is not just a number on a spreadsheet. That is a real, painful hit to your bottom line.
Okay, so I know what some of you might be thinking right about now. Ugh, portfolio management, isn't that just a fancy term for more admin work, more spreadsheets to fill out? Look, that is the single biggest myth out there, and we're about to bust it wide open. This right here really gets to the heart of it. It's a total mindset shift. On one side, you got the myth that this is all just admin, right? Logging tasks, being a cost center, unnecessary evil. But the reality? It's a strategic driver. It's not about looking backward. It's about giving you foresight. It's about getting everyone aligned. And maybe most importantly, it's about explaining the why behind what we're all doing. I love this quote because it just says it so plainly. Think it's just admin? Nope, it drives foresight and alignment. See, the real win isn't in tracking what you've done. It's in shaping what you're going to do. It's that huge shift from being reactive, just putting out fires, to being proactive and stopping those fires from even starting. And yeah, the other thing you hear all the time is, oh, that just sounds way too complex. But that's the beautiful irony, isn't it? The whole point of this approach is to do the exact opposite. It's a system built to cut through all that noise, to make complicated things simple, and to give you the one thing you desperately need when things are chaotic, and that's clarity. Okay, so how do we actually make that shift? How do we get from that tangled web of projects to a crystal clear strategic roadmap? Let's break it down. So at its core, this is what we're talking about: program, portfolio, professional services. And look, it's not just software or a bunch of tools, it's a service. And the key part, the real magic, is right there. It's about explaining why changes matter. It's the glue that connects what your teams are doing every single day to the massive goals you're trying to achieve. And the best part? Making this happen isn't some huge, impossible task. It's actually about a few simple, consistent actions. First, you weave it right into your regular governance reviews. Second, you just have to commit to consistent updates. And then, you just watch. You watch as that simple consistency starts to create real, powerful alignment across the board. You know, when you make this shift, something really powerful happens. You start operating with a whole new level of confidence. Not just in your projects, but in your own ability to lead. So what does that actually look like day to day? Well, just imagine it. Fewer of those late-night fire drills because you're catching risks before they become problems. You get smoother, more predictable delivery because, hey, everyone is actually rowing in the same direction. And underlying it all is this deep-seated confidence in every decision you make, knowing it's backed by a clear, holistic view of your entire portfolio. This feedback really cuts to the chase. For any leader, what's your biggest threat? It's your blind spots. It's what you don't see coming. So when you have a service that systematically eliminates them, that gives you the foresight to see what's coming around the corner, well, like the quote says, you can't really put a price tag on that. But just because something feels priceless doesn't mean you can't see a real return on your investment. Oh no, the payoff for this kind of foresight is tangible, and it goes way beyond just the numbers on a spreadsheet. So here's how it breaks down. Foresight, that directly cuts down on that costly rework and those budget-killing surprises. Alignment, that gets rid of all those wasted hours we talked about. And reduced risk, that just means you're making smarter decisions that actually protect your budget, instead of just reacting to problems after they've already hit. And when you look at the data, you can see just how powerful these pieces are. Strategic alignment and increased foresight aren't just feel-good ideas, they are the primary drivers of success. This is what separates the companies that are just surviving from the ones that are truly thriving. This is a really important point to end on. This kind of system isn't for people who are trying to hide or avoid responsibility. It's the exact opposite. It's a tool for leaders who crave clarity, who want to be held accountable for results, and who are relentlessly focused on making a real impact. And that brings us to the final question, the one for you to consider. When you look at your own organization, at your own portfolio of projects, are you just set up to manage chaos, or are you truly leading for clarity and for impact? The answer could change everything.